Shut up, fool!
But I can admit it. Jesus brown babies. Get over it.
Stop listening to atheist YouTubers.
Ready for bed.
Scientists have determined that the universe was created by God. Big Bang.
It's true. Scientists have concluded that. Oh, my. Yeah, I've been noticing my mic has been really good lately. Like, loud, clear. It's almost too good. Maybe I should turn it down. I'm going to start the show with saying what I like about Christianity, and then I'll talk about that Satanic Temple Display. I want to really encourage Christians to call in and help me understand why it bothers you so much, if indeed it does. And then I'll give you simple ways, one simple way actually, to utterly destroy the concept of Christian nationalism in the United States. It's actually way easier than you think, and this is why I'm not worried about it. But I jotted down, I think, seven things I liked about Christianity. And you guys can let me know if you agree or disagree. But number one, I kind of like the compassion part of Christianity. And I know people can say, well, Christianity is not really compassionate. But it does have verses like turn the other cheek, love your neighbor as yourself. And I know that, you can say, well, what does neighbor mean? But at least you can interpret it to mean even like pacifism. Mennonites are Christians. Amish are Christians. It's almost like a type of Jainism of nonviolence, this compassion and empathy towards others. So that's one thing I like about Christianity. They at least can be interpreted that way. Number two, that given the compassion part and empathy part, it still at the same time maintains a sense of justice, that there are punishments, that the government has the sword for a reason, so there's punishments here on this planet and then there's punishments in the world to come, which of course I don't believe, but it does have a strong sense of justice in that way. Then I also appreciate about Christianity that it says that you should take care of yourself, like your own body, that your body's the temple of the Lord. I don't believe that, of course, but I do think that's a great principle, that you shouldn't be taking drugs or drinking alcohol to excess to ruin your own body. Now, some people do, and I think that's their free will to do that, but I still think that's good advice. Another thing I like about Christianity, at least some forms of Christianity, is that it's your choice whether you believe or not, whether you follow Jesus or not. There's many Christians who believe God's not going to force you to heaven. You know, not the Calvinists, of course. They think it's all predestined. But I do like that about Christianity. And I love Christians who respect my choice to, in their view, choose hell, choose separation from God. So that freedom of choice should be respected. A lot of Christians believe that. Now, they'll probably keep trying to convince you, but what's the fifth thing I like about Christianity is that it actually believes in this thing called objective truth, that there's this reality, a truth that exists whether we exist or not. And oftentimes I think science points to these truths that Christians say is objectively true and exists. I like that. In other words, I like that Christianity mostly is not this postmodern thing, my truth, your truth, all that. So I like that about Christianity. Number 6, I kind of like the fact that Christianity admits that we humans are flawed in some way. Like I think they go overboard with, we're depraved and there's nothing good in us, although not all Christians believe that. But I like the idea that there's a sense of humility of, you're not perfect. Only God's perfect. I don't believe that, but at least they admit that, we should have some humility. We don't know everything. Only God knows. I don't believe that, but I like that part about humans being fallible. Except for the Pope, right? And the last thing I like about Christianity is there is an element of actions matter. So it still has a bit of that Judaism, Islamic type that the way you prove you love Jesus and God is you obey his commands. So even though Christianity has this idea of thought crime, it still emphasizes, in a sense, good works. And I do like that. That faith without works is dead. Give to the poor. If your neighbor asks you for your cloak, give him your shirt also, whatever it is. So those are 7 things I like about Christianity. Now, I trapped you, Christians, who are now listening. If you're a Christian and you just listen to the things I like about Christianity, I actually trapped you. Because those 7 things are the fundamental tenets of the Satanic Temple. I'm not lying. I changed the wording slightly, but basically, I just read out to you the 7 tenets of the Satanic Temple, which is very similar to some aspects of Christianity. One should strive to act with compassion and empathy towards all creatures in accordance with reason. Number 2, the struggle for justice is ongoing and necessary pursuit that should prevail over laws and institutions. Remember, I talked about compassion, I talked about justice. One's body is inviolable, subject to one's own will alone. I talked about your body is the temple of the Lord, and you should take care of it. It's your responsibility to take care of it. Now, this is probably in regards to abortion, probably, but anyhow. Number 4, The freedoms of others should be respected, including the freedom to offend. To willfully and unjustly encroach upon the freedoms of others is to forgo one's own. Number 5, I think a lot of Christians appreciate that. Yeah. I want to preach the gospel. If that offends you, I still have that right. I have the right to tell you you're going to hell. That's freedom of speech. By the way, I still don't get why some atheists are perturbed by that. You flag-waving phonies. Number 5, belief should conform to one's best scientific understanding of the world. See, this was our talking about objective truth. Yeah, the Satanic Church has that. Hey, Blake, thanks for the donation. And thank you for the donations I got yesterday that I was talking to someone while you gave it, and I didn't mention it. Thoughts on the Turkish lawmaker dropping dead while giving... Hey, I saw that while giving an anti-Israel speech, saying Israel supporters face Allah's wrath. Yahweh is real, confirmed. Yeah, let me finish these tenets, Blake, and I want to talk about that. Number 6, people are fallible. If one makes a mistake, one should do the best to rectify it. Is there any Christian who disagrees with this? Well, maybe some Catholics with the church on certain core issues. Number 7, every tenet is a guiding principle designed to inspire nobility in action and thought. But I think this is really important. The spirit of compassion. It's interesting to use this word. Spirit of compassion, wisdom, and justice should always prevail over written or spoken word. Yeah, so I purposely trapped you with what I like about Christianity and basically juxtaposed it with the tenets of the Satanic Temple. This is from the Satanic Temple website. They purposely do figures like this and the horns and everything to trigger Christians. And so if you're a Christian and you're triggered by this, you're being manipulated. Why on earth and in heaven do you allow the Satanic Temple people to manipulate your feelings and emotions? Christians who get upset about this sort of thing need to be more dead inside. And that gets us to that satanic display was destroyed. Was it yesterday? I read a quote. It was some guy. Was he like a military guy or policeman? Who's a Christian? The quote said something about him being outraged by that display. I mean, this Christian would make a great ISIS Muslim. You get your feelings so outraged that you're willing to destroy property. And if you're really outraged, destroy a human. Why Christians? Why some Christians do you get so emotional? I don't get this, because even if Christianity is true, do you really fear Satan? Of course not. And if Christianity is true, Satan is the god of this world. He is in control for a time. This is his world, not God's. Now, at the end times, that will flip. And when the end comes, that will flip. But for now, what do you expect, Christians? This is Satan's world, not God's. God gave it over to Satan for a time. And I think the Christians would say it's a test. It's for you to persevere, to be not of this world, but in this world, not of it. To be that light, that contrast to the darkness that this world is all about. Am I saying anything incorrect theologically? If I am, I'm willing to be corrected. I'm your humble servant atheist who's willing to be corrected on Christian theology. But let me get back to this super chat. And you might be surprised by my response on this. For those of you who don't know, I don't want to play it, but there's this Turkish lawmaker who said something bad about Israel. And then literally within seconds had a heart attack and died. I think it was a heart attack or stroke. I don't know. Now, I've always said that if God is real, and if God really hates certain actions like rape, murder, theft, he ought to punish people in this world, not just in the world coming, but in this world. Why isn't he doing so? And so I said, a good test to know God is real is you line up 6 convicted murderers, or 10, whatever, and you pray in the name of Jesus for God to strike them dead on the spot. And if all of them die, that would change my mind. I'd believe this God is real. Now, if you want to be an atheist like Matt Dillahunty, so, well, there's another explanation. Well, okay, let's do this 10 times in a row. Line up 10 rapists. Pray to God to remove a certain body part in the name of Jesus. In 3, 2, 1, and all their penises are gone. I don't care how much of a naturalist you are. Your world's going to change if that actually happened. So I would, Blake, thanks for the donation, but I do think it is still a coincidence. The guy was old. But if it happened over and over and over again, you might get my attention. Especially if it's like some prophet of God, predicts it. If you say this, you will drop dead within 10 seconds. And it happens over and over again. Then I want to give my solution to Christian nationalism. It's easy to get rid of Christian nationalism because I think the scriptures are correct when it says a house divided cannot stand. All you have to do is pit different Christian denominations against each other, and it's over. For example, Protestants versus Catholics. Sola Scriptura versus the church. Sola Scriptura plus, no, the scriptures plus the church equals truth or God's word or whatever. I mean, all you have to do is go on YouTube channels and Twitter and see people like James White and those other guys, what's his name, Soteriology 101 or the Provisionist. Whoa. They're constantly arguing with each other about determinism, about Calvinism, about sola scriptura. Catholics and Protestants on some really important stuff will never, ever, ever agree. So if Christian nationalism ever gets a hold in the United States, you as an atheist should just be gentle and bring up these issues to these Christians. It's like, it's sure great to have the scriptures alone to determine what's true. I mean, we don't need people like the papacy, do we? And just ask questions like that, and the fights will start. Even simple things like child baptism versus adult baptism. Just how can just be a very timid atheist and ask simple questions like, like Jesus commanded baptism. How can a baby do that? And the Baptists say, yeah. And the Presbyterians say, no. I mean, it is there's no way that they can be a unity. No way. So number one, I don't think, I think the majority of Christians in the United States don't want Christian nationalism. It's a small minority. And even if that became a majority, it is very easy to divide that house. Do any Christians here disagree with me? You don't disagree with me. You know what I'm saying is true. That there's some fights that have been going on for 2,000 years that are just not all of a sudden going to stop in the interest of Christian nationalism. They're not all of a sudden going to say, okay, let's put this aside because we got bigger fish to fry. No, these are the big fish they're frying right now. Like Calvinism and non-Calvinism and the infallibility of the papacy and sola scriptura, end times, even salvation, progressive Christians versus more conservative type fundamentalist Christians. And here's another thing I'm not worried. I've asked this question of many Christians, and I asked them, would you rather have your child to be like me, a conservative atheist, or a progressive Christian? And then I sometimes caveat with, here on planet Earth, let's not worry about the afterlife. If all we're talking about is here, how we conduct our lives on planet Earth, I guarantee you, for a lot of conservative Christians, they're going to say, I'd rather have my child a conservative atheist like you, Doug. But if you throw in the afterlife, then I'll change my mind. But for now, here on Earth, no, I'd rather have you, my child, to be like you, an atheist. Because I know they're not going to be crazy. They're not going to do the crazy stuff. They value family principles and, yeah, I mean, they're just, the progressives, they make them puke. I don't want no dancing fat gay man in front of my kids. I don't want any of these transgender talk in for my child in grade 2. And I know Doug doesn't support that either, so I'd rather have my child an atheist like Doug. There you go. Triggerometry went live? No, but is he live, or is it a pre-programmed thing? Maybe I should go on his channel. So yesterday I went live, but mostly atheists came in. I think on this topic, more Christians would be willing to come in. So I'll open up the room and hopefully more Christians will come in. And maybe I'll try again to go back on Discord. And if Tom Rabbit's listening, maybe he can help me find some Christians to come in. Pinecreek, I use they, them pronouns, so I can use the carpool lane. I saw that. There's a lot of comedy skits on that. Where a person's pulled over, being alone in the carpool lane, and the officer's about to write the ticket and says, no, I'm a they. Okay, so the way you call in is just click that link. And feel free to call in and tell me why does the Satanic Temple Display bother you? If so, why? The concept of Satan, I mean, does Satan really scare you if you're a Christian? If you're a true Christian like Babis here, you have to say, no, Satan doesn't scare me. He has no power over me. What are you talking about? Well, if Satan has no power over you, he doesn't scare you, then why does Satan's displays bother you? And if you came late and you're a Christian, watch the first 5 minutes or 10 minutes because I tricked you. Are we doing religion or politics? This is an example of where religion and politics definitely, because we're talking about the Satanic Temple. That display that was destroyed by a Christian who wasn't dead inside. He was too emotional. Yeah, the Jewish view of Satan is way different than the Christian one. I don't know if Christians know that. Satan ruins lives. Purify yourself. His kingdom is within you. I would love to know an example of a real life example of how Satan has ruined lives. So, for example, if you're a Christian who believes in free will choice, how do you tell the difference when Satan ruins your life and you've ruined your own life? Hey,
Hello, Doug.
it's good to have a true Christian here.
How are you?
I'm good. You're not scared of Satan, right?
Of course not.
Yeah. And you're not scared of satanic displays, right?
No, but I have an opinion that it will take some time for me to analyze it and why I have this opinion. So,
Okay.
the problem is that Satanism, if I can call it a religion, when it is promoted, it's like promoting sacrifice, human sacrifice, animal sacrifice. So it's what comes with it. And I know that nowadays Satanists try to play it as atheists, like they're atheists, when they are actually not. Actually, it also promotes child molestation and many other things.
Okay.
I know that. Yes,
you're saying the Satanic Temple would promote child sacrifice was the first thing you said, and then molestation.
Yes, this is what it represents. It represents evil, everything evil.
Were you here from the beginning?
Yes.
Did you see
this?
Yes,
I heard those tenets. Yes, I heard those tenets. I have actually read them in the past.
Okay, nowhere in those.
Yes.
Can you read those tenets and say that the Satanic Temple is for the child molestation and death? Can you get that from that?
With those tenets, no. And if their actions were according to those tenets, I wouldn't have any problem. But it's actually what hides beneath that.
Okay, so you're saying they're lying. They don't really follow those tenets.
I would say some do, some don't, some other don't. But actually, it also it brings in my mind revelation and what will follow. So it shows how the system of the beast will try to creep in and build its way and be more and more evident. You see nowadays that many people delve into occulted witchcraft, and you can actually go to a normal store and find items about it. So it actually brings in my mind also the revelation, if you get what I mean.
Not really, but let me ask you this. If a man molests a child, do you think Satan caused him to do it, or do you think he just did it out of his own free will?
So I would say the responsibility falls on the man, even if that person is possessed. But actually, I'm not talking about people who randomly do these things. I'm talking about people who do this as part of satanic rituals.
Okay.
And no matter if you, many people who the Masons are in the heads of they are the ones who control the governments. So even if you are an atheist, even if you are a Muslim, I don't know, but those people will come for your children anyway. So you actually have to be prepared for that. That's my opinion.
Okay. So I don't deny that there are some people in history who have claimed to be Satanists who have, let's say, killed other people. Although I can't think of any off the top of my head. Can you think of an actual example of someone who claimed to be a Satanist and actually killed a child because they're a Satanist?
I don't memorize names, but there are actually, it happens even to this day in cults, and there are people who share the testimony of how they got out. Other things.
You broke up on me a little bit, but
the same way there are So do you get how I approach this issue?
Yeah, you're basically saying that even though the Satanic Temple has some great tenets, you think that there's some
Yes.
evil underlying tone of Satanism that will cause evil things like killing children and molesting them.
Yes, like wolf in sheep's cloth.
Okay. And do you equate Satanists to atheists?
No, but nowadays I have noticed that, no, in the modern times I have noticed that many Satanists try to play it as New Agers or atheists. So I have actually seen that.
Yeah, because I think by definition, if you are a Satanist who believes in Satan, like the Satan talked about in the Bible, you cannot be an atheist.
Yes, but many modern Satanists try to play it as if Satan is actually a symbol and not a real being.
Okay.
And they actually go behind closed doors to do other things, but in front of people, they say some weird philosophical stuff so that they could creep in the system that is trying to be built up.
Yeah, because actually the head of the Satanist temple, I've actually talked to personally, I don't know, about 8 years ago on a platform called Blab. And I asked him point blank, do you really believe in Satan, or is it just some type of gimmick? And he smiled at me, but he wouldn't answer it because it kind of then the geeks up. I think maybe he's more honest about it today. I got to listen to him today, but I think you're right. They purposely trigger Christians by using the word Satan. They don't really believe.
Actually,
Satan's real.
That's not even my problem. If they were, even if they are against Christianity, if they were good people and they just disagreed on this issue and didn't have these secret societies and all those other things that come with Satanism, I wouldn't have any problem. The same way I don't have any problem if there are mosques. If Muslims are not the ones who will try to explode themselves with the first chance they get.
Okay.
Actually, I'm all for inclusivity when it comes to religion, but not with Satanism or with fanatic Muslims.
And are you okay with that satanic display in the state capital of Iowa? Or was it in Iowa? Where was it? I forget where it was. Mississippi?
No, I'm not okay.
You're okay with having a satanic display?
I actually don't have any idea. I learned this from you.
Yeah, you're breaking up. But are you okay? Are you okay with a satanic display in a state capital? No, we lost you, Babis. Yeah, it was in Iowa. Okay. I think he said yes. He's okay with it. Someone said something interesting. Why would you teach your children evil ways? I wouldn't, blessed be he. I wouldn't teach my children evil ways. But as I read the 7 tenets of the Satanic Temple, I would say they're not evil ways. Read it for yourself and tell me what's evil about it.
Did we have a connection issue?
Yeah, you dropped out.
Okay.
Or we couldn't hear you. But you said you're okay with a satanic display in a state capitol, right?
No, I said I don't agree with it. But I said that if they were real Satanists, they would just put a rock there with their tenets on it. I wouldn't have any problem with that.
You wouldn't have any problem with a rock with their tenets on it?
No, if the tenets are what they are trying to...
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Those humanistic...
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I don't think, like, the actual display what was wrong with it? Like, was it the horns that scare you, or the candles?
No, nothing scares me. It's not even the display itself. It's what those people represent and what Satanism comes with, because it will start getting promoted more and more, and it actually helps build the system of the beast. That's what I was doing with Revelation some minutes ago.
Okay, let me ask you some very simple questions. What's so bad about Satan?
Well, he wants to drag us to hell. He wants to destroy our lives. He wants us to...
hang on. Let's take one point at a time. He said Satan wants to drag you to hell. But I thought it's people's choice. Right. I thought it was people's choice that lends people to hell, not Satan.
Yes, it's people's choice.
Okay, why do you blame Satan then?
Because he's trying to influence people to go this direction.
I know, but it's ultimately people's choice, right? So you should blame people way, way, way more than Satan.
Yes, but
okay,
it's actually a little complex, because Satan is the one who and the devils, all those beings are the ones who try to influence you to do something, and they influence you every day, all day.
Yeah, but
so it's actually a spiritual world.
God does the same thing. God influences people to follow him through his Holy Spirit, and Satan does the same thing. So it's tit for tat.
Yes, but if this spiritual war didn't exist, many people wouldn't go to hell. The majority of people wouldn't go to hell, because Satan also wants to blind you with lies. He wants to possess you and cause you to do.
Can you give an example of Satan lying or blinding people with lies?
Yes.
Sure. Give me an example.
Actually, yes. So with the New Agers, they try to talk with weird spirits, and they learn false information about who God is, about the universe, and all this stuff. Or people who go to
let's say I was
mediums.
Let's say I was Satan's lawyer. I would say Satan had nothing to do with that. Like, can you show me in Scripture a time when Satan lied? Or
yes, I don't remember who was the apostle. I think Peter or Thomas. I don't remember exactly. And Jesus said, "Get behind me, Satan."
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember? Or when Paul said to the woman who had the spirit of divination, "Go away in the name of Jesus," and that spirit left her?
Yeah, but I'm asking for, like, you're talking about possession, but I'm asking for an example where Satan actually lied. That Satan lied. That Satan said something untrue.
Actually, it does. I don't recall anything specific, but it says that Satan his goal is to kill and destroy. I don't remember exactly how that verse goes.
Okay, can you give me an example of Satan actually killing and destroying using Scripture?
Yes. So I would go for King Saul, who. Do you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you, but I'm trying
to. Okay. I would go for King Saul, who went to a woman who was a medium, and actually because of his actions, he was destroyed. But let me think a better one.
Yeah, but how do you know Satan did that?
Yes. In the garden. The snake said that Adam and Eve would become gods, like God.
Was that a lie?
Yes.
Hang on, Babis. You know the Scripture that Jesus in the New Testament said, don't the Scriptures say that we will all become gods? Doesn't Psalm 82 say that people are gods? Silly some.
No. Become gods like God. Like the one God. because we are
well,
made
hang
in the
on, but
image of
isn't
God.
that
So we're
true?
actually,
Isn't that true?
no, it isn't. No,
No, but
how is it
like
true?
because when they ate of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, they became like God, knowing what's good and what's evil.
No, they didn't become like God. They started to lose that divine, I would say, aura they had,
No,
and
they
they became
became
naked.
arbiters of
Naked.
truth. What does it say in the
They
scripture?
became naked.
It says that they noticed their nakedness for the first time. They could see.
Correct.
They could see. They could now judge what was good and evil.
Correct. Not to become
Yeah.
gods.
So,
This was about the knowledge of good and
but
evil.
that's what Satan meant. Satan meant that if you eat of this tree, you'll become like God in the sense that you would know good from evil. That's what the tree of knowledge of good and evil was. The knowledge of good and evil.
The thing is that
Satan told the
God
truth.
said that if you eat it, he didn't, because Satan told that if you eat it, you will be like God. But God said you will die if you eat. So they both died. Adam and Eve are dead.
Okay. Satan told the truth there too. Didn't they die spiritually when they ate that fruit?
Yes, they died.
Yeah.
But they didn't
So
become
Satan
like
told
gods.
the truth
They went
again.
to lesser position.
What?
They went to lesser position. Because actually, listen here. This is the tree of knowledge of good and evil. If you say that if you eat from it, you will know the knowledge from good and evil, it isn't a lie, because everyone knows it isn't something new. But Satan says that if you eat from it, you will be like God in heaven, who will be like God and know from knowledge between good and evil.
Yeah, and
So,
that was true.
but they both died. But they both died. They didn't become like God. They were created in the image of God, but after they ate from this fruit, they didn't become God.
Satan meant that if you eat the fruit, you'll be like God in that you'll recognize good and evil, just like God can recognize good and evil, because he's the foundation of good, and anything opposite to it's evil. And Satan was right. He told the truth. And when Satan
But that's
said,
not something
if
new.
you eat of this fruit, you shall surely die, Satan was right. He told the truth. They died spiritually at that moment, and that's why they were cursed. That's why they recognized their nakedness.
But here is the problem. Saying that eating from it you will know good and evil isn't something new. It isn't something special, because it's actually called the tree of knowledge of good and evil.
I know, but
so when it says to become like God, it's talking about the position
Babis,
that God has, the Godhood.
You Christians have been tricked into believing that Satan is a liar and a deceiver when you can't give me one example of him lying or deceiving or even destroying.
I have given you 3 or 4 now.
Okay.
Through spirits.
I think you have to say
Let me
this.
say,
But Satan told the truth about the knowledge of good and evil. He told the truth that they should surely die, and they did spiritually. And even if you want to say it's physical, they died later. Surely you will die. He didn't say when. See, I'm harmonizing Satan's words just like Christians harmonize the differences in the Gospels. And when I asked you, give me an example of Satan actually killing people and destroying people, the only example I think you can give me is in Job, and a lot of Christians believe that literally didn't happen. And even if it did literally happen, it was at God's request, Yahweh's request. He was a messenger of God, fulfilling what God wanted to be done. So it wasn't really him killing Job's family. It was him killing Job's family on behalf of God. Because God said, do whatever you want to try to get Job to turn against me, but don't touch Job. And guess what Satan did? He obeyed God exactly. He did what God wanted. So every example of Satan in the Bible is him telling the truth. It's him not destroying people or deceiving people. It's basically him doing God's works. And if you talk to Jews, they will tell you the Satan is a messenger of God. He does God's will. And even in the garden, in the desert, when he took Jesus and tempted Jesus 3 times, Satan told the truth every single time. Like, you can turn this rock into bread and eat. And he's right. Jesus could turn that rock into bread and eat. And all these kingdoms could be yours if you bow down to me. Well, he told the truth there because God gave Satan the world. It was his to give. So
before he fell.
you have yet to tell me any example of where Satan is a liar, deceiver, and a destroyer.
Okay, let's go back to Genesis. God said that if you eat from this fruit, you will die. But Satan said that you will not die, but you will become like God, knowing good and evil. Actually, him saying that you will know good and evil is nothing new, it's nothing special, because it's the name of the tree. Tree of the knowledge of good and evil. So
Oh, and someone
he
just pointed
deceived
out. Hang on, someone just
humans
pointed.
into dying.
Someone just pointed out I made a mistake. Satan never said you shall surely die. He said you should
No,
surely
he didn't.
not die.
Yes.
Okay, so
that's what the deception.
yeah,
The
okay,
first deception.
but did they die
Yes.
physically?
Yes. Actually, first spiritually, and they died within a day, which a day in heaven is 1,000 years. So Adam died
come on.
before the 1,000 years.
See, this is what I meant earlier when I said you can view this spiritually or you can view this physically. If you view it spiritually, yes, they died. But if you view it physically, they didn't die.
Actually, they did die because it's actually, there is not annihilation in Christianity. This doesn't exist. What exists is first death and second death.
Yeah.
Second death is in hell.
If what Satan meant is you should not surely die physically at that moment, like take a bite and you go, oh, poof. If that's what Satan meant, did Satan tell the truth?
He didn't mean that, because you will be like God, knowing good.
The answer
and
is
evil,
yes, he told the truth that that's what he meant. Now,
no,
you're saying that's not what he meant.
He deceived them. He deceived Adam and Eve into dying.
What? They did die physically?
He deceived. Even if he meant that, God said that within a day you will die, so it wouldn't even make sense. He deceived them into death.
So you're saying God lied?
No, Satan lied. Because he deceived them into death. Because even if they had some time to know good and evil, within a day.
He deceived them into death.
Yes. I'm not a native English speaker. If I said something wrong.
Well, I mean, if by telling the truth you can deceive someone to death, then okay, I guess Satan's guilty because he told the truth.
How? Because he said that you will not die. He tricked them into death.
Right, and I'm saying if
tricked them
you
to
view
get
that as
into
physical
heaven.
death, let me ask you this. Did Adam and Eve die in the first 48 hours after eating the fruit?
Yes.
They did. They physically
Yes.
died. Physically.
Physically, maybe they lost what they had in the beginning, and they had the first death. But there is not, the annihilation does not exist in Christianity. You have to
True or false?
understand that.
True or false? The scriptures
Yes.
say Adam and Eve died 48 hours physically after eating the fruit. True or false?
Physically, with the earth body, false. But they died within 1,000 years.
So if Satan meant you shall not surely die, if he meant physically, at that moment, he told the truth.
No. Because he removed them from God's presence, and he tried to influence them. So actually, I don't see any good motive behind it. I don't know if you see.
People in the live stream chat, watch it. It's so easy.
Because let me tell you something.
No,
It's
Babis.
not about even
No,
knowledge.
Babis.
It's only about good and evil.
This is like me saying, if this pen is blue, then it's blue, right? And you'd say, of course, that's a tautology. So if I say, if Satan meant that if you eat the fruit, you shall not surely die in the next 48 hours, physically. If that's what Satan meant.
Yes.
Then he told the truth. Correct?
If that's what he meant, he would be telling the truth.
Yes, thank
He
you.
would
Why is
be
that so
telling the
hard
truth.
for
He
you
would.
to admit?
I actually was confused between hypothetical scenarios and what actually the Bible says. So.
Okay, I'll let you go in so someone else can come in and
Okay.
get.
Okay.
Okay,
Good
thanks
night.
for calling. Good night. Good day. Good morning. This is something I think most Christians don't realize. Is that they view this Satan guy as this really bad entity. But yet you are hard pressed to find examples of where Satan actually lied and killed and destroyed. Because every example you can come up with, like the destroying and killing part, you can say, well, he did it only because God wanted him to. Like the Job story. In fact, the Job story, I think, is the only clear example of where Satan actually killed anybody. And then when it comes to lying, if you are allowed to harmonize the Gospels, I'm allowed to harmonize and give explanations of what Satan meant. You shall surely die. You shall not surely die physically. That's what he meant. And they didn't. He told the truth. So I beg Christians to give me examples of where Satan, in Scripture, where Satan's actually a liar. Maybe there is some in there, but I don't think you can go to the garden. I don't think you can go when he's talking to Jesus. No, Babis, you ready? We're in here. Like, let me bring up the 3 temptations of Jesus. Let's see if he lied it anywhere in there. Where's that found? I think it's found in several Gospels. John, is it only in John? No. John 6. John 6:20. No, that's not it. Google lied to me. Someone know off the top of their head? When Satan takes Jesus into the desert, tempts him 3 times. Did man become like God in knowing good from evil, or evil different from God in knowing good from evil? What? What are you saying, Franklin? Did man become like God in knowing good from evil? Yes. Or different from God in knowing good from evil? I'd say more similar to God. Not exactly like God. Like that whole story about the knowledge of good and evil, how can you blame Adam and Eve for taking of the fruit if they had no knowledge of good and evil? Like, this is a theological conundrum for a lot of people. Oh, I gotta change my room size. Should be 1 to 2. Thank you, Anon. Luke 4. The testing of Jesus. Okay, let's see if we can find anywhere where Satan lies. Jesus full of the Holy Spirit. Let's do... oh yeah, okay. The devil said to him, Okay, where for 40 days he was tested by the devil. He ate nothing all those days, and then when they were over, he was famished. The devil said to him, let's look for lies. If you are the Son of God, command this stone to become a loaf of bread. Jesus answered, is written. Okay, there's no lies there. He's just saying, if you are this, then do this. No lying. Then the devil led him up and showed him in an instant all the kingdoms of the world. And the devil said to him, to you I will give all this authority and their glory, for it has been given unto me. Is that true or false? That the earth was given to Satan? That's true. Satan is the god of this world. And I give it to anyone I please. Well, if he has free will, got to assume that's true as well. If you then will worship me, it will all be yours. Well, we never know if that's true or not, if Satan would have gone through with it, because Jesus refused the offer. Then the devil led him to Jerusalem and placed him on the pinnacle of the temple and said to him, if you're the Son of God, throw yourself down, for it is written, he will command his angels to protect you. That's, again, no line there. It's just like, if this is true, then this will happen. And he's right. If he is the Son of God, the angels will protect you. Do not put the Lord your God to the test. Yeah, there's nowhere in here Satan is lying. And this is one of the few places where we have Satan actually talking. And other places in the book of Job. Maybe we should go there next. Blessed Be says, bingo, Satan is the god of this world, and atheists worship it. Worship it. This is where I get a little frustrated. Like people, I'm pretty good at not being triggered, but when people say the stupidest things, that actually triggers me a little bit. Stupidity triggers me a bit. Because if you know the definition of atheism, not believing any gods exist, and then you say atheists worships Satan, the god of this world, you're contradicting yourself. You do understand that, Blessed Be, right? Like, do you have the IQ power to understand what I just said? You just showed that you worship Satan. How can I worship something that I don't believe exists? And tell me that. Like, through ignorance? If you're saying I'm totally deceived and I'm worshiping Satan even if I don't realize it, okay, fine. But then I'll ask you, why is that bad? Well, what am I doing that's so bad? Well, worshiping Satan's bad. But why? Because it's not God. Oh, so who cares? Why? Well, practically, what's the difference? Like, am I murdering people? No. Am I killing babies, chopping their heads off? No. I'm even against abortion. So there. Like, tell me what I'm doing wrong. If worshiping Satan is wrong, I don't want to be right. Like, tell me what's so wrong about worshiping Satan. Satan's, from what I can see, has told the truth, has never killed anyone out of his own free will, only at the behest of God. If anything, I should make you feel bad for worshiping Yahweh, who has killed millions and millions of people through the flood and through acts of war, commanding war. Like, you should feel guilty for worshiping God. And if you worship Satan, I actually have more respect for you. Because Satan seems like he's the better man. He didn't even have to write a book defending himself. God did. Uh-oh, that got some people upset. Pablo. Let's let Pablo catch up. Oh, he's gone. Guest. Are you there, guest? Babis, no, I won't have you back on. Number one, I'm not saying you're a bad guy or anything, but your accent's really hard to understand for most people. And so the communication is not the best. But I'll even bring up Job here while we're waiting for someone to call in. Yeah, guest, I see you here, but you got to say something. The goal here is to find examples of Satan actually lying. I'm yet to find it. There once was a man in Uz. Like, this is how you tell the difference between fiction and history. There once was a man in the land of Uz. Does that sound like a fictional story beginning or a literal story? Whose name was Job. The man was blameless, blah, blah, blah. He had this, he had that. Pablo, you trying to get in? Can you hear me? I can't hear you. One day the heavenly beings came to present themselves before the Lord, and the accuser also came along. I guess the accuser is supposed to be Satan. The Lord said to the accuser, "Where have you come from?" Oh, see, that proves that Yahweh is not all-knowing. The accuser answered, "There you go. It finally works."
Hello. Hey, it works.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you kept trying. So Pablo, with the name Pablo, you must be a Catholic Christian.
Correct, but I'm not Catholic. I mean, I was baptized Catholic. But to answer your question real quick, I don't mind the statue of, what is it, Satan on the, where do they put it? In the courthouse?
Okay.
I mean, we have the eagle on our dollar bill. We have the pyramid. These are all pagan symbols. It's been on our dollar bills for the longest. It doesn't matter what they put. It's just they're doing it more blatantly now. It's more obvious as we get farther.
Okay. But so you don't have a problem with it? You're not scared of it?
I'm not scared because I know that these things are supposed to happen. They're supposed to be out showing their true colors, who they are. So, I mean, it just is what it is. They're just fulfilling prophecy in my viewpoint.
Okay. And
So,
is Satan a liar?
yeah, he's called the father of lies in the Bible.
Yeah, but that, like, someone can call me things doesn't make it true.
Right. So you're gonna be indicted by the one person that can read your heart. You know, that's the problem.
Like, is there examples in scriptures?
That's what he doesn't like. This is what Satan doesn't agree with. He doesn't want somebody reading his thoughts. He doesn't trust God. So in order to be himself, to be his true self, he wants to be like God. And so, scripture in Isaiah 14, where he's lying to himself, he says that he can be like the Most High. He wants to ascend to the mountaintop to be like God. So there's that scripture there. So he says that is like God saying, "This is what you said in your heart."
Someone just said that Job lied in the Satan lied in the Job story because he said, if you take everything away from Job, he will curse you and
Curse
die.
you. Well,
Yeah.
he doesn't know that. That's the bet. We don't know. He wants him to curse him. That's the whole strategy of Satan here now. Now that he's on earth, because he got sent to hell for basically blaspheming God to his face, because he lived in eternity with God, and all his angels all basically cursed him right to his face. So they don't have a punishment like we do, where we're decaying human beings.
Yeah, I don't care about all that. I'm curious about whether Satan has lied in Scripture, and it sounds like you agree with me that Satan was wrong but wasn't lying.
In what case? In that Job scenario?
Yeah,
sure,
like
fine. What's the line?
Satan thought that if he took everything away from Job, he would curse God, but he was wrong. Now, here's the question: do you view someone? Do you believe uttering a false statement is the same as lying? I say no.
False statements. Yeah, I mean, bearing false testimony is lying. Yeah.
Okay, Pablo. You're going to
there's
change your mind in
degrees
10.
of it.
You're going to change your mind in 10 seconds.
All right, let's try it.
A child who's 2 years old says 2 + 2 is 5. Are they lying?
It's a child. It doesn't count. We're
There you go.
talking about rational human beings.
You changed your mind in what's that? 10 seconds, right? So
because you went with a child. We're talking about two adults right now. We're talking about two humans.
An adult truly believes that I don't know, that a certain car is a 4-wheel drive when really it's an all-wheel drive. They truly believe that because they read something, and it turns out it was a misprint.
Okay.
So they were given false information.
Okay.
Did they lie, or are they just mistaken?
So they were given false information. So so they. Okay. In that case, then yes.
So Pablo, you see how easy that was, where I can just change your mind in 10 seconds.
Yeah. No. But that. Okay, fine. I get what you're trying to parse it out and do a razor thin example here. But if I was to say, no, agree with me. If I was to tell my wife, hey, I did the dishes, and then she comes downstairs and sees all the dishes in there, would that be a lie?
All the dishes in where? In the dishwasher or
in the dish? No, in the sink. They're all dirty. They're all on the table. I didn't wash the dishes. You can see it right there, right? The evidence is no, you didn't. But why'd you tell me that you washed the dishes? That is a bold, straight-faced lie, right?
Yeah, unless you meant you did the dishes yesterday.
And we also provided false testimony as well.
Yeah, there's clear examples of lying, but I'm just saying, like, does scriptures teach that Satan can see the future? Because I don't think it does.
No, in time past, in heaven, when there is no time,
all you have to do is say no.
We're in a different dimension.
Yeah, so Satan cannot see the future.
Yeah, well,
like God.
Satan was
right.
No, he could in heaven. He could when there's
okay, but on planet Earth with Job.
Yeah.
Do you think he actually could see the future and knew for sure what the result would be?
No.
Okay, exactly. So how could he be lying about the future that hasn't happened yet?
He's not lying there.
Okay. So the Job story, Satan's not lying. In the Garden of Eden story, he's not lying.
Of Eden, he lied because he said, he said, you surely will not die. And then Adam and Eve are dead. They died 900 years later, but they're dead. So you do whatever you want to do with that. I completely disagree. I mean, that's a bold contradiction. You're saying, a person did not die, and they actually did die.
Okay, if I tell you that if you and I were sitting at a restaurant and I said, "Here, drink this," and you say, "No, I'm not going to drink this because if I drink that, you're going to die," and I say, "No, drink it. Surely you're not going to die."
Yeah.
Do you think that means in 900 years or on the spot?
Listen, in your example...
don't give me this listen. Tell me the truth. Do not be like Satan and lie.
In your example, you can make it mean that it's an instant poison death. I'm gonna die right there at the table. Now, a doctor can tell you, hey, you have 4 months to live. You're going to die of cancer. You're dead. Are you going to die right there the same day he gives you the news? No. You're going to die later. That's exactly what happened. Their life was prolonged so they can have children, and those children can bear the generations that would bring forth the Messiah that would then bring the redemption for all mankind.
I'll state this like I did with Babis. If it's true that what Satan meant when he said that is that you will not die on the spot, did Satan lie? Yes or no?
Yeah, because you're going to die. It doesn't matter if it's 24 hours later, you're still going to die. You know, if you don't die 2 minutes later. Or
why is it so hard for some Christians to understand?
Why is it so hard to understand that time progresses? Why does everything have to be instantaneous the way you think
why are we talking about time?
Your model? Because we live in time. We're bound.
Let me try again. I'm not trying to be rude to you or anything. I'm not trying to pull a Matt Dillahunty. I'm just doing if-then statements. Like if Satan meant that if you eat this fruit, you will not die. Surely you will not die in the next 48 hours. Let's say that's what was going through Satan's mind when he said that.
Okay.
Did they die?
So
Did they die in the next 48 hours physically?
No.
Okay, so if Satan meant that, he told the truth. Yes? Question mark?
Okay. There you go. So now we got to know what the inner workings of Satan is, and Satan must have meant this way. So you must know how Satan thought.
That's a different issue.
So
now.
you're a mind reader now.
No. All I'm doing is giving if-then statements. So a lot of people,
in that scenario, yes.
A lot of people interpret what Satan meant there as surely you will not physically die on the spot. And he told the truth. If that's what some people believe, and that's what he actually meant. Now, if you mean that they will die spiritually, he was wrong, because they died on the spot spiritually. So you can view this as a delayed physical death, an instant physical death, a delayed spiritual death, an instant spiritual death. So most Christians, I think, believe that Satan was wrong because they did die instantly, spiritually.
Okay.
Not that they died 900 years later. You're welcome.
Okay.
What else do you want to talk about? So Satan hasn't really lied in the Bible. Hasn't really killed anyone other than through God's blessing. So why is Satan a bad guy?
Well, he killed Christ. You know, the seed of the woman. Well, of course, they had a serpent, and the serpent will bruise his heel.
Whoa. You sound like Richard Carrier. Who killed Christ?
Satan wanted to kill the Messiah, yeah.
No.
Satan...
Who actually killed Christ?
Oh, a Roman soldier.
Okay, so you said Satan killed Christ.
Yeah, through the inspiration. Yeah, he inspired everybody to kill the Messiah.
Okay.
It was his plan.
Pablo, when you sin, whose
No.
fault is it? Yours or Satan's?
I guess it would be your fault and Satan's it's your friend tempting you, like, hey, let's go about doing bad things, and then you go along and say yes.
You are a
So,
progressive.
it's another person.
You're a progressive left-wing liberal, not taking responsibility for your own actions. What kind of?
We're all taking responsibility. I'm responsible, and so is he. We're all responsible. Everyone's damned.
Oh, you sound like a granola crunching, tree hugging, progressive socialist. Oh, we're all responsible. No.
I'm an ultra-national Christian fundamentalist, right-wing.
Well, then
Zionist.
start talking like one, for goodness sakes, and take responsibility for your sins.
I have to. I have to.
Okay, so when you sin, it's not the devil's fault; it's yours, right?
Fine. Ultimately, it's on you. Yes.
Okay, thank you. I mean,
but I mean, he's not like innocent, is what I'm saying. Like he's participating. He wants to participate in your sin. He wants you to do more, so then accuse you to God and say, like, "Look, this is what you made, a sinner, just like me. So are you going to put him in hell, just like me?"
Well, Satan just wants the people to be on his team, just like God wants people to be on his team.
No, he doesn't want a team. He wants annihilation. He's a nihilist. He doesn't want to exist. That's why he did this. He wanted to die. He wanted to die in heaven. He thought that he was going to do suicide and get out of heaven. And no, God placed him
wait
for
a minute.
eternity in hell.
God, Satan wants to die and not torture forever and ever?
No, he doesn't. He wants to. Yeah, he doesn't want to be tortured forever. Exactly.
Well, I actually got more respect for Satan now.
Yeah, he's on a suicide mission, and he's trying to take down as many people.
Because I don't want to live forever and ever either. Satan seems smart.
Exactly. Yeah, there's people. Yeah, exactly. There's that way out that you can. That's the only way out of this. You can't leave the matrix unless you kill yourself.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Seems like that's a better deal to me. Like to be annihilated than live forever.
So I think that's the choice you get. You either get annihilated. You don't want to live. You don't want to live forever, or you do want to live forever, and that's a mercy that God gives you, and you get to live. Maybe
what living forever is a mercy? No, that's a punishment.
Yeah, because you get to live forever, do the same things you've always wanted to do.
You seriously want to live forever? And
sure.
Ever?
Yeah, I want to live forever.
That's
in an updated state. And
you remember Hitchens, right?
System.
Christopher Hitchens, you remember him?
Yeah. Yes.
You know what he said? Like living forever is like going to a party that never ends. You can never leave. I mean, at
Yeah.
some point, you just want to be out of there. You just want to take a nap and never wake up.
That is the question. That's the question: to be or not to be. You can ask that now or ask that later in heaven. It doesn't matter.
No, it's to be for a time and then not to be forever.
Exactly. So then it doesn't matter if you were to be for a time, because you have no recollection of it and it's over and it's just back into oblivion.
You've mentioned The Matrix quite a bit. Do you love that movie?
Yeah, of course. It's a whole symbolism of Neo being the chosen one, and they're copying the same motifs that have been reiterated throughout all of human history, where the Savior comes to save the world from the evil, from the evil empire.
Isn't it amazing how like movies copy from the New Testament a lot of times?
And the Old Testament.
Yeah. Do you think that has happened throughout all history, where people take themes and ideas and use it to create new stories?
Yeah, they create and they borrow. Basically, they're not creating anything new. I'm saying everything. There's nothing new under the sun. Everything that is, will, and has been.
So
do you
apply that to the New Testament?
Yeah, it's a pattern. Yeah, repeating.
It borrows from the Old Testament.
Well, it's the continuation. It's another covenant from the same.
Why are you
God
using all of a sudden a new word, continuation, instead of borrowing?
Because it's the Jewish people who produced Jesus, the Messiah. The Jews got taken out of Egypt. The Jews produced
Did
the Messiah.
the Matrix writers borrow from the New Testament?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, sure.
Did the New Testament authors borrow from the Old Testament?
I want to say borrow. They're fulfilling. You want to say borrow? They're fulfilling the festivals.
This is so much fun. I thank you for coming, Pablo, because I haven't had a nice dopamine rush in a while. You see what I'm doing to you, right?
Yeah, I know what you're doing. You're pigeonholing meanings to only fit your
No,
scenario.
I'm showing very clearly how that you're totally comfortable saying the Matrix authors borrowed from the New Testament, but you're not comfortable saying the New Testament authors borrowed from the Old Testament.
Fine. In a way, they borrowed, but I could also say, let me elaborate, let me expand on that. Borrowing is not sufficient term. It's not a good definition. It's yours. My definition would be they expanded.
Why didn't you say that about the Matrix? Why didn't you say, okay, yes, Doug, you're right, the Matrix borrowed from the New Testament, but it's not sufficient to say borrowed. Like, they did other things. I mean, you didn't do that automatically. You feel the need to protect the New Testament for some reason.
It fulfills the old. It's a continuation. It fulfills all the festivals that happen. The slaughtering of the lamb being smeared on the doorpost of the blood of the Israelites, so that the firstborn son would not be taken away, so that death would pass over you.
That's a weird story, right?
It's weird. I know everything is weird. This whole thing is peculiar and bizarre and unique, and that's why.
Do you believe that actually happened in history? Like, if we had a videotape and a time machine, a video recorder.
Yeah, I think so. I think
you would actually see people putting blood on the thing, and then we'd actually see the angel of death come by and look at the blood.
I don't know if you would see it. But yeah, I mean, they would definitely.
The story is they actually put blood on the door thing, the top of the door.
Yeah, you would see that, but I don't know if you would see the spirit. But yeah, you would see the blood on the port.
Okay, would we actually see people without blood on the door, their children die?
Yeah.
You'd see their dead bodies.
Exactly.
We'd see them alive, and then we'd see we'd feel a coldness in the room, and then boom,
this
they'd be dead.
This is retribution for Pharaoh killing all the infants, the slaughter of the innocents.
Like, to me, this is the crazy part about Christianity. Like, you and I, you live in the United States, I take it?
Yes, sir.
You and I are products of the Enlightenment. Like, whether we like it or not,
yeah,
we're exposed to science. We're exposed to just the understanding cause and effect more so than any time in history, where we have more explanations. How can you in the year 2023 believe that there's these spirits and ghosts killing people? Like,
spirits and it's evidence that I think I've already talked to you before. I told you the Daniel 9, the Messiah being cut off before the destruction of the temple. And all of prophecy, really, all the prophets have all confirmed for me, like, my belief. Like, I can't shake a belief. Like, you just, it's involuntary. It's involuntary. Like I said, if
Daniel 9 is the reason why you believe, you can shake that belief, because all I have to do is get you to doubt Daniel 9.
Okay, fine. We can try that some other time. But what I'm saying is that there's, I've seen the evidence where I can't shake a belief. Like, I believe that
the evidence is Daniel 9.
That. and then you're saying I'm mistaken, I'm not interpreting it correctly. It's just it looks like that, but you know what it actually looks like. You think it's this way actually. So, it's both. It's subjective. It's up for debate between two of us. And in your worldview, you cannot make an absolute claim to anything that you say is true.
Yes, I can.
Okay.
You said I can't make any absolute claims.
Okay, make one.
Okay, you ready? Is your seatbelt on?
Yeah, go.
I am absolutely not your God.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's true. I mean, yeah, I never heard that from an atheist. I mean, that you probably thought about that one. That's a good one.
Well, that's because I'm a thinking atheist.
Most liberal people, most liberal atheists, no, there is no absolute truth. I can't make a claim as absolute truth, but yet they make one claim that there are no absolute truth.
Yeah, I'm not one of those atheists who says there's no such thing as absolute truth. But I will also say there's such thing as subjective truth. Would you admit that?
Sure, there is subjective, correct?
Okay,
in matters that are completely trivial. Like what is subjective? Like what is it? Either I got fired from my job or I did it. Either my wife's pregnant or she isn't. Either I ran the red light and I hit somebody and I killed him, or I didn't.
Okay. You're right that a lot of times subjective truth is trivial, but sometimes it isn't. Like if someone says, if I have one drink of alcohol, I'm going to be back on the wagon, and because they're an alcoholic, like that has serious implications on their life and on their family. So it's true for them that they're alcoholics and there's that danger. It's not true for me. I can drink a ton of alcohol and then go off cold turkey for like a year. I don't have that alcoholic gene, I guess.
Okay. Yeah, but sure. Back to, I guess, maybe Satan. I don't know if you want to talk about him some more. But Isaiah 14 is there. Psalms 82 is a good one where it talks about his whole gang are being judged and they're going to die like men because they were part of the Elohim. Like you said, sons of God. You said that before.
Yeah.
So I wanted to clear that up. Sons of God is true. You're true. A lot of people are called sons of God in the Bible. So what makes it so special that Jesus is called the Son of God? Muslims use this argument all the time. And he's called.
So are you a polytheist?
I mean, I'm a Trinitarian. Yeah, I believe that the Father, Son, Holy Spirit are the one true being.
Very few Christians admit that. So you think being a Trinitarian is the same as being a polytheist?
No, I don't think it's polytheist.
Okay,
I know people
I'll ask again.
think that way.
Are you a polytheist?
No.
Do you believe? Can you define polytheism for me?
Polytheism is a belief in a pantheon of gods, of two or more gods.
Oh, I love it. Okay, you know how I changed your mind before in 10 seconds?
Yeah.
I'm going to change your mind in 10 seconds again.
All right.
Do you believe Satan? Do you believe Satan is the god of the world?
Oh yeah, in that sense, he's a ruler. So I was trying to get
just say yes, and then I can move on.
Yes.
Okay.
He is the God, the ruler, the judge. Yeah.
So we got Satan as a god of the world, and we got Yahweh as a god, the God, the Most High God. How many do we have?
Okay, and then we are going to be.
Hang on, Pablo. We got two gods there, right? And you just defined polytheism as the existence of two or more gods.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
So you're a polytheist.
Okay, in the vernacular of the Hebrew Bible, the Elohim, when it uses Elohim to mean sons of God, it means divine counsel.
Yeah.
So in
many
the Christian gods. In the Christian sense, we are co-partners in the divine counsel. The angels were with God. Because I'm trying to make an understanding that
you're trying to shovel in a bunch of irrelevant stuff. All I'm trying to get you to admit is that you're a polytheist under your definition, and we've already accomplished that. Pablo, you're a polytheist.
Sons of God means Elohim, okay? Right? Elohim. Elohim is used to describe God and the sons of God. But there's only one word, Yahweh, the Lord, Adonai, the ultimate, the Almighty, the powerful. He has that ultimate title. But he has bestowed a divine counsel to be sons of God, because he's a father, and everything he creates are his children. So that's why we're called sons of God. We're not really gods. We're in his family business, and so we are basically called under his name, under the leadership of God. So Satan rebelled against that. He was called the sons of God. We, after we're
Is,
judged,
is Satan a god or not?
Not in the sense you think of it. He's a creator. He's not the creator. He is a god.
I didn't ask if he was a creator god. I just asked, is he a god?
There you go. No, he's not a creator god. He's a god. He's just a He's just a literal god.
We'll do it again. Define polytheism for me. You're gonna give me a different definition than 10 minutes, 5 minutes ago.
Only one divine creator. Divine essence. One divine essence.
You know, do you realize what you just did? You changed your definition of polytheism because you knew that if you don't, you're a polytheist.
It's the same definition. I've expanded on it. Yes.
No, it isn't.
It's a God that creates.
You've changed your definition to mean only a certain type of God.
Yeah, because you're trying to pigeonhole me on one definition.
Let me. Why are you so scared to be pigeonholed? For example, okay, Pablo,
that's the only way your argument works.
Between me and you, who cares if you're a polytheist? Why are you so scared to admit you're a polytheist under that definition that you gave originally? Why are you pushing back so hard? Just say, yeah, under that definition, I'm a polytheist. What's the big deal? Why can't you just say that?
No, a God, because you've mistaken you misunderstood.
No, I did not misunderstand you.
You misunderstood when I said God. God, in the word, in the sense Elohim that they're being described, does not mean God, Yahweh, Almighty, the creator of heaven and earth. That's not the same title. So
I had the same conversation with Michael Heiser. You know who that is?
Yeah.
He also refuses. Well, he's dead now, but he refused to admit that under that definition he's a polytheist. When under that definition, that's just science. If you define polytheism as the belief in the existence of more than or two or more gods, you are by definition a poly means many, theist means the belief in gods or God. Polytheist, the belief that many gods exist. Now, a lot of people have different. Many people have different definitions, like the worship of.
I've told you, other gods exist. Other gods around the world. Yes, Marian gods exist. The Zoroastrian.
Okay,
gods exist.
So under that definition, are you a polytheist? Yes or no?
Yeah. I don't believe them as being my god. They are wannabe gods. They're trying to be like gods.
See, again, I don't understand.
They are not.
I don't understand why you push back.
The way. Because they want to be gods. What
are you scared of?
They're being. I'm not. I'm here trying.
No, you're scared of something.
Make reason for you.
Are you scared God's going to be mad at you if you admit you're a polytheist? Under that strict definition?
Not at all, because he knows my heart. Again, he's the only one there.
Okay, if he knows your heart, then what are you scared of? Just say, under that strict definition, Pinecreek, I indeed am a polytheist. Why is that so hard? Why are you so scared to admit that?
I could admit it, but it's not true. That's the thing.
It is true. We can do it again.
You want me to admit it, so then it could have been
There are many types of gods, true or false?
Many types of God, yes. True.
Okay. Now, if I define polytheism as the belief that more than one God exists, no matter the type, some are creator gods, some are most high. One is the most high God. Others are like crappy gods. They can't do much. But under that strict definition, the belief that two or more gods exist, are you a polytheist?
Yes, and so is Yahweh.
Thank you.
Yes.
That wasn't so hard.
Read the second commandment of the Ten Commandments.
You shall have no other gods before me.
Okay, then. So he doesn't deny the existence of other gods.
Right. So why can't you be like Yahweh and admit it right away? You're a polytheist.
Fine. So I make sure we establish that I'm not being misunderstood.
Michael Heiser said it himself that when the scriptures say that there's a pantheon of gods, it means exactly what it says, that there's many gods existing, and not all these gods are even demons. A lot of Christians think, well, all these gods are demons. No. Well, Satan is a clear example. Satan is not a demon. He's actually...
he's the greatest angel ever created. He's the firstborn of all creation.
Yeah. But there's some people who interpret those verses to mean that people become gods in the pantheon, and they're not demons.
No. But then these demon gods or demigods or semi-gods or whatever you want to call them have mated. and they then
Oh yeah,
and then you have different offsprings.
You don't believe that though, do you? That there was like.
Of course, I do.
You
Have
do?
you read Genesis? Read Genesis 6?
Yeah.
The sons of God saw the daughters of Eve, and they took them to be fair, and they had them as wives, and they had.
So you
children,
believe
men of renown.
spiritual beings had coitus with?
Yeah, I don't know exactly how that works, but yeah, apparently they have offspring.
Your parents didn't tell you about the birds and bees? You don't know how coitus works?
Yeah, I do. I have a wife. I told you that. Of course I do.
Okay. Well, I don't. I'm just making sure. Maybe your wife wants me to help you here.
I don't think so. I don't think
boys and girls are different.
Yeah. So you're saying it can't be possible.
These Nephilim had penises.
Maybe. Yeah. Sure.
What do you mean maybe? If they bred with.
I don't know.
Or do you think they used artificial insemination?
Maybe they took over other bodies that were already there, other people's bodies.
Well, they're still using a penis.
They're still using a penis, but they're not. They're not.
Not
they
their
didn't come
penis.
with it.
They borrowed a penis.
Right. Yeah. So
how can you believe this stuff? It's 2023. You live in the United States. I could understand if you lived in Brazil.
We have tales of. Everything's written about it. The Titans, we all know about it. Hercules and all these people.
Wait a minute. Do you believe
it's all legend? We've already know about it.
It's legend.
What? Yeah, it's all legend, meaning that
Hercules.
They told
Hercules is legend, but not Yahweh.
It's all true. I'm saying it's true. These legends are all true. These myths are all true. The fables are all real. The hybrid animals are all real. The flood happened to destroy that, to get rid of all.
Tell me if you've heard this legend.
What's that?
My great grandfather.
Yeah.
My ancestor. This is a legend. He could literally fly. He lived in northern Arizona, even though I came
You told me about this one, the guy that flies in the cave. Yeah.
No, not in the cave. Over the Grand Canyon. He flew unaided. He just got up and flew. That's the legend of my great ancestor. Do you believe it?
Yeah. No.
Well, you just said all legends are true.
Well, no, they have. First of all, we already went through this. This hasn't been studied. There's no archaeological facts about a temple being.
What do you
built
mean?
and it's
There's no archaeological facts. The Grand Canyon exists. That's an archaeological fact. He flew right over it.
I'm talking about the Temple of Zeus. I'm talking about Temple of Athena and Apollo, the pantheons of all these gods. They were built. The Rapa Moya, they built these statues to look out into the sky so they could see, so they can call out their gods again.
So if humans build an idol of a false god, that means that false god is real?
Ancient aliens, the history program, helped me believe more into all this stuff.
Your fellow Christians, they're just like shaking their head. Like, what do all these?
They're fine. They can shake their head. Explain to me how they lifted those megaton megalithic structures out in the sand. They quarried them from their pit and then dragged them across the sand to their base. Okay, sure. So engineers.
Why you just dismiss me?
Yeah.
You're hurting me.
Water. Okay.
You're hurting me here.
Engineers to this day, my uncle is an atheist. He's a civil engineer. He says we don't know how they lifted that. Not all the cranes put together in the world could lift that one stone. So, do you know how old the Sumerian culture is? How long cuneiform has been around? Do you know your history, Pinecreek?
No.
6,000 years. Do you know what language they were using?
I was guessing that in my head, but
what's the writing? What's the writing that they were using? Cuneiform. Okay.
Yeah, you just said
before that. Before that, they found Gobelli play.
Is this like cleanup mode? Are you trying to make me look bad in order so you feel good now, or what's going on here? Did I lose you? Pablo, you there? Yeah, I lost you. Okay, someone else can call in, even though Pablo has provided much entertainment. We can talk about Satan, if Satan's a liar or not. I also talked about Christian nationalism, and that is very easy to destroy. Very, very easy. In fact, all I can demonstrate how easy it is to destroy Christian nationalism. All I need is for a James White or a hardcore Calvinist to come in and a hardcore non-Calvinist to come in. And all I have to do is ask a few questions, and I can cause a huge kerfuffle. I bet you I could get two Christians to even yell at each other. Or I can get a hardcore Catholic, traditional Catholic in here, and a Protestant. We can talk about sola scriptura. And I can get a very passionate disagreement started. And then we can ask the question, is Christian nationalism a real threat when you see these Christians argue with each other? A house divided cannot stand. Now, if somehow they can be united, yeah, then there's a chance, but that's no. Or get a progressive Christian in here and a traditional conservative Christian in here. I can get them to basically deny the other side as a Christian. There's a lot of Protestant Christians who don't view Catholic Christians as real Christians. So if you're an atheist who worries about Christian nationalism, just remember these words. And you go, yeah. And it's up to us atheists to very kindly point out these differences amongst Christians if they ever try to start a coalition together. And it'll quickly crumble. Guaranteed. I'll guarantee it. Or your money back. I'll give you your money back if I'm wrong. Make a moral argument for transgenderism. Mario Estevez. I actually deny that transgenderism as I define it even exists, so I can't. I do not believe in a gender soul and a body separate from that you can be born in the wrong body or have this attributed, like there's no scientific evidence for that. So Mario Estevez, I cannot make a moral argument for transgenderism. But I'm not even sure what you mean. Maybe you need to be nice to transgender people? Is that what you mean? I don't know what you mean. I think you're assuming stuff about me that's not true. I'm a conservative atheist, as opposed to a progressive one. I'm an unwoke conservative atheist. Proudly so. But I define woke in a very specific way. So when I say I'm unwoke, you got to know what I mean by that. I'm okay with making people cry with my words, but not my physical actions. Because I made Pablo cry. If I can make Pablo cry, I can make anybody cry, right? Except for children. Children are our future. We teach them well. Let them lead the way. Not teenagers. Teenagers are crazy. Young adults. Sorry, Pablo, for beating up on you. But it's good, right? You become stronger. You'll get better with time. I'm not crying. Hey, a real man can admit it. So, as you get older, you'll admit you're a real man and become a real man. Pinecreek, it's what Andrew Wilson did to Matt Dillahunty. Hey, Mario, you don't know me. I actually like what Andrew Wilson did to Matt Dillahunty. I thought he had a very interesting strategy in granting that no gods exist, but still saying, okay, what do these oughts boil down to? Thank you, Mr. Monster. I'm a Satanist in the presence of Christian effigies, and churches do not bother me. I'm a Satanist in the presence of Christian effigies, and churches do not bother me. I encourage conversation with Christians and other religious folk. Okay, see, Mr. Monster is a Satanist. He seems like a very reasonable person. I get the impression that Satanists are very much free speech, anti-woke people based on their tenets here. Maybe I should sign up. Maybe I should become a satanic minister. Because it sounds all good to me. Like, I don't think they'll require me to kill anybody. It's just Christians have this knee-jerk reaction against those audible sounds that start with S. Satan. It's like, ooh, they start shivering and get worried, and he's a bad dude. Could you make Matt Dillahunty cry? I can get him upset. I already have. Yeah, Mario, I think you'd like me. I think everybody likes me once they get to know me. I'm a real treat. Even progressives. This is becoming the Pinecreek Sean show. Well, you got nothing better to do with your life?
Not today. And, you know, I thought about calling in, but then anyway. So the last thing I heard was the Andrew Wilson Dillahunty thing. And all fuckery aside, I would. So I don't think Andrew Wilson's a good person. I put him in the category of he's got some. The only reason he wears that hat is to find that is literally to hide the greasy white supremacist hair underneath it.
Oh, come on.
I guarantee there's spider webs under that damn flannel shirt he's always wearing. He is pretty terrible. Now, so I just want to be clear on the way that I feel about him, but I don't really want to talk about him as much as I think Dillahunty is problematic with that particular thing. And this is where, Doug, I'm not giving you anything here, but well,
you just can't.
I say that because this is where you and I think similarly, where some of the people that are more liberal in my camp, so to speak, disagree with me. I think Dillahunty did a disservice to everybody on our team by not sitting across from that guy and arguing the points, right? By not by this weird, like, I'm not going to platform you. I'm not going to talk about these issues. You're just a shitbag of a human being. I'm not going to waste my time or give you the air to all of this nonsense.
So why don't you call Matt Dillahunty a shitty person then for not doing that?
That's literally what I'm saying. I think he, in that particular instance, he would have
Okay.
done more good sitting down at that table and showing, or at least trying to point out all of the bullshit with Andrew Wilson, right? And he didn't. And I think that's where Andrew Wilson now goes home and he's like, I won, blah, 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 you know, and I think that's why we need to sit across the table and have, not only do we need to have conversations. So as two reasonable
Sean,
human beings.
You've been watching my channel far too long. You're starting to become.
Nope.
You're starting to become like.
This.
You're becoming like me, Sean.
I've always thought this. I've always thought this. I've always said that the reason that I'm problematic for most conservatives, or I will sit at the Thanksgiving table and hash out the argument with you. I will sit and talk about these issues because I think it's important. And I'm not saying we have to fight it out.
Okay, so you would do that with Andrew Wilson?
In that instance, we need to.
Would you sit down with that? Would you sit down with Andrew Wilson and have that debate with him that he was supposed to have with Matt?
Sure, absolutely. I think, yeah, absolutely. Would I go on Andrew Wilson's channel and have a conversation? Yes, although he's
Because you just said he's a white supremacist, so you would have a conversation with a white supremacist.
I don't think he strays away from being a white supremacist that much, to be honest with you. He's already got the Christian nationalism out there.
I know. I'm just asking. Would you have a conversation with a white supremacist?
No, I have them all the time where I live, Doug. And now that's to say maybe not
hang on.
white supremacists,
You said no,
right? But
you would or would not have a conversation with a white supremacist?
of course I would.
Okay, thank you. Why do you think he's a white supremacist?
No, I can't pinpoint one exact thing, but like I said, I guarantee there's a couple spiderweb tattoos under that flannel shirt he's wearing. Some of the things that he says, the way that he acts,
maybe he likes Spider-Man.
Right. And if you're gonna say there's a spiderweb, you got a spiderweb tattoo on an elbow or a neck, and you're going to be like, yeah, he's a Spider-Man fan, then I'd say you're just naive, or you haven't been out in the world long enough to recognize what actually is going on.
Let's have a serious conversation with this, because I actually am a little bit bothered when people just throw out these terms and accuse people of... So let me ask some very basic questions that might shock people because they're so basic. But what is wrong with being a white supremacist?
What's wrong with being a white supremacist?
Yeah, it's a very basic question. Let's get to the foundation here.
I think it hurts. God, I think it's terrible on so many fronts, right? Like, so
name one.
One, one, they literally, most white supremacists are out to harm the black community in one way or another, if not physically, right? And that's what they seek to do. They seek to, yeah.
Okay, so do you think Andrew Wilson is out to harm people of color physically?
I think he's out to, no. Physically, I don't know. Physically, I have no idea.
Okay, so
if given the opportunity that he could get away with it, sure, why not? I don't think he has an affinity for anyone outside.
Okay, wait a minute.
Bubble.
You're saying if he could get away with it, he would harm black people physically?
Sure. If he was in a given situation, I think that Andrew Wilson, Matt, you're gonna clip something, and just from watching that shitty Crucible channel and some of the debates that he's done, and a little bit of that, I get a hint of among the Christian nationalistic bullshit that dude touts.
Because you do know
what's
he's
the baby thing. What's that?
Like, you do know
is he
that
married to a black woman?
No. I was going to say that you do know that he's a Christian who believes in definite oughts, like you ought not do certain things because you're Christian, and I think he would say that if a black person's just minding his own business on the street, I think he would say, God would say, you ought not hurt that person physically just for sitting on the street. Like, he would, in other words, I'm saying, I don't think he would ever hurt someone, a person of color, because they're a person of color physically.
Sure. Who knows? But to say that Christians, you know how many Christians I know that are racist?
Okay, even
and
that,
I was just thinking about
let's back up there.
Several instances. Yeah.
It's all going to boil down to the same thing. When I asked you why is white supremacy wrong, you said because it hurts. Because you can hurt people physically. It's harmful.
Yes.
Harmful.
I think. Harmful. How about that? Yeah.
Okay. Why is racism bad? Because it's harmful. Okay. Be specific. How is racism harmful?
Because I think they think people are less than, like, when someone looks at my brother that's gay, they say, you don't deserve the same rights as I do based on just who I am.
Okay.
Right? And the same,
good answer.
I think that's the same thing that goes on when a person, and when we talk about racism in America, it's tough to get off the black and white. But when anyone looks at another person and just based on the way that they look says you don't deserve the same rights as I do.
Okay, do you think Andrew Wilson would look at a black person or an Asian person or any person of color and say, who are citizens of the United States, and say, you don't have the same rights as me because I'm white? Do you think he would say that?
Not that you don't, but I don't think he thinks they should. I think he wants white Christian whatever, like that, his fucking utopia.
Do you think Andrew Wilson
dream?
Do you think Andrew Wilson would, if he had his way, would take the citizenship rights that people currently hold, if they're of color, he would want them removed?
Doug, I don't know, to be honest with you.
Okay, if you don't know, then why do you call him a white supremacist racist?
So I think he's, because of watching his channel for way too long, or listening to it in the background. The same reason that I think he wants Christian nationalism, or his version of Christian nationalism. I don't think, when you listen to his political points of view and he talks about the black community, it's not a good look, right?
I've never heard him talk about the black community, but maybe he has. Well, what has he said?
You're not watching enough of his show. He's on the same tip, so to speak, that my mother would be, right? Like, so yesterday,
like what has he said about the black community?
I'm about to say.
Okay.
So when you said father, what were we talking about?
Fatherless homes.
You talked about fatherless homes.
Yeah.
So when my mother talks about fatherless homes, she talks about the black community in Chicago, and how the majority of the black community doesn't have fathers at home, because this is
he wrong?
Right? I'm talking about my mother. And
is your mother wrong?
So
I don't know if it's the majority, but it's a high percentage, right?
Is she wrong? You could look up the percentages, but without looking at any kind of stats, what I say to my mother is, when she's one of those people that will often, man, I got off. Does she say some racist things? Absolutely. Will she preface a statement every now and then with, I'm not a racist? And we all know what comes after that, right? She's about to say some racist shit. If she says I'm not a racist, or like, I'm just being honest, when she talks about like certain aspects, and she has black friends, they have black friends, but does she say some racist stuff? Yes. Do I think Andrew Wilson's worse than her in some of the stuff that I've heard him say on the Crucible? Can I nail down any of that right now? No. But the same way, that, do you think he's a Christian nationalist of some various color?
Do I think he is a Christian nationalist of some? Yeah. But that doesn't necessarily, but hang on to your shorts here. But that doesn't automatically mean it's bad. It depends what type of Christian nationalist.
So let's get off the racism thing, because
let me I actually like the topic of racism, because most people don't want to talk about it.
I know, but I want to switch to the Christian nationalism, because you were also talking about it, and it does tie a few things together that we've talked about. Because I do think
64% of Black or African Americans in the United States, 64% is single parent home. It doesn't say fatherless, but it's a good assumption. It's pretty close to.
And that was my point, though, right? Like, let's say they are fatherless homes, but my mother automatically doesn't think it's because of the tribes and tribulations of being a human being. She thinks it's because they're black, right? Because of the black community, because of this, blah, 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 this, that, and
16%. Asians are the lowest. And no surprise, they have the highest median income. Coincidence? I think not.
But we talked about this yesterday. When she thinks about fatherless homes, she doesn't think about my friend that just died and left 2 kids and a wife, right? Like, she thinks immediately, if we talk about fatherless homes, she immediately thinks black community. And I think that's driven by
she's right, 64%
that we need to get rid of. But a lot of people I think a lot of people look at that negatively because of the color of their skin, right? Because
you should look at that negatively. Having fatherless homes is a bad thing.
But it's not just like, right? Like, but there's several other things that go into it. What about like people like me that weren't raised by their father, but they were raised by their mother, right? To say that single parent homes
you had a disadvantage.
I don't think they are.
You didn't have a father in the home when you were raised?
No, I did. I was raised by just my father.
Oh, okay. I thought you said the opposite.
No,
I actually think,
and I've known.
I think the stats support that if you're raised by just your father and no mother, you will end up better than if you're raised with just a mother and no father. Now, women will hate hearing me say this, but I think the stats bear this out. That it's the father that will actually determine how you end up in society, not the mother.
I think I know several people that have come out really well being raised by just their mothers because their father.
Well, sure, there's always
around.
exceptions.
I know several kids, but for me, it's a problem because most people, when we talk about this issue in the States,
it goes into the what they would consider a problem in the Black community. But I think that that racism and Christian nationalism can be tied hand in hand sometimes. But the Christian nationalism, for me, when you talk about the young earth creationists, do you think because you said easily, like, we could, if we showed these Christian nationalists a few different things, that they would just drop the stick, right? But man, Doug, Christians
No,
don't
I'm
just
saying
drop
if
any stick.
you divide the Christians against each other, and it will just fall. You know this.
I don't think it's that easy. You know it's not that easy.
No, it's incredibly easy. It's incredibly easy. If James White was in here, he's a Calvinist, determinist, Reformed Protestant. And if I had him talk to, let's say, Trent Horn, who is a non-Calvinist Roman Catholic, I could sit back and I could act like Satan the devil. I could ask very gentle questions, and I could get those guys really passionate and disagreeing strongly. I mean, about core fundamental doctrines. They would vehemently disagree, and then imagine them in the Congress trying to agree on some type of legislation. I mean,
I think
it'd be fun.
Sure. So sure, that would be fun. But when you talk about the normal American and they think of like our God-given rights, or the Constitution was written by Jesus, or the various number of, and I don't mean that in any other sense than they think Christians wrote the Constitution or the Declaration of Independence or these things, and we can fight about that all day long. But when they go home, Doug, they just say, oh, these crazy atheists, or Satan's at work, or they're demons at work, or they're this and that. We're not talking about like,
well, there's smart atheists, there's dumb atheists, there's smart Christians, there's dumb Christians.
But the majority of Christians, don't you think, when it comes to voting or it comes to choosing their figures, like, so in our small town, they run on,
careful.
God,
the majority of Democrats are Christians. You got to be careful.
Then I mean, in the sense of supporting the House Speaker, right? Like, so they don't have a problem.
Yeah,
with
you're talking about certain type of Christian.
Hand waving away his young earth creationism because he's on the same team. The same way that Christian nationalism, makes me nervous, is because they hand wave it away, because they're like, oh, but it's all for the good, right? This will work itself out. We just have to keep voting in the Christians. But
I want to get back to Andrew Wilson, because you made two pretty damning claims against him. Number one, that he's a white supremacist.
Yeah, but you're just talking about somebody that listens to him in the background and hears some of the stuff that he says, right? Like, I'm not going to go out and research why I think,
okay,
or go back and listen to the hours. All I have is literally.
So are you backing off on that now?
I've listened to that make me think that, yeah, he's a racist Christian nationalist, whatever it is.
Do you think I'm a racist?
I think you look at the African American community much different than you do, let's say, your wife's community.
Okay. Do you think I'm a racist?
I think in some of the stuff you say, it probably would come off like my mother. And I don't have anything other.
Do you think I'm a racist?
A little. So the only reason I struggle with that, Doug, is because I can't hold your feet to the fire with it, other than, like, when I say my mother says racist shit, that I say,
I like your answer, Sean. You said a little.
That's not good.
And
That's not good.
I think you're right. I'm a little racist, because when I went to the AutoZone the other day and I saw two Asian women running this AutoZone, I said, good for them. Like, that's kind of racist. like to see two Asian women running a car parts place. I mean, I said, interesting.
So it's a shame I don't have a YouTube channel, because then I could do my first clip and that would be Doug saying, I'm a little racist.
But I'm a good racist.
So look, I don't necessarily, right, but that's anyway. So back to when you came on, I do think there's something to be said for sitting across the table, and I do think that Dillahunty walking away, look, I like Matt Dillahunty, right? Like, I think he makes good arguments. I think he loses his fucking mind sometimes, and that's fun to watch. We all like that dumpster fire. But I think that particular thing, for him not to sit down across from someone that I consider bigoted, racist, Christian nationalism, terribleness, to not sit down and have that conversation.
Okay.
I think it did more.
Okay,
I think it let Andrew Wilson walk away with it, right?
Yeah, I agree. Now, Andrew Wilson, you claimed is a white supremacist racist.
Can we go?
I'm going to pound you on this one, not in a sexual way, but
not like you want to, not like you want to pound Peter Boghossian, right? Like not.
Hey, I gave him grief.
Let's make it different, right? Or maybe you want Peter to pound you. I don't know, Doug. That little like smile that you got when Peter said yes, Doug.
Let's assume you're right. I don't think Andrew Wilson is a white supremacist.
That you want to be pounded by Peter Boghossian?
But let's assume you're right that Andrew Wilson is indeed a white supremacist racist. Who do you think is more likely for this conversation to happen? Andrew Wilson and an African American to sit down and have a conversation, a debate, or Matt Dillahunty and a transphobe, like me, like he called me a transphobe the other day. What is more likely?
I'm so sorry. Yeah, one more time.
Two conversations. Which do you think is more likely to happen? Andrew Wilson and an African American about, let's say, I don't know, fatherless homes. That's the debate topic. Or Matt Dillahunty sit down with me and talk about, let's say, trans issues. Which is more likely to happen? Which conversation?
Oh, I don't know, because I've never seen either happen unless it's on Matt's like the line or whatever that news show he watches, which I haven't watched that much.
Based on Matt's words, I can tell you what he said about me, and it's on public record. The conversation between Andrew Wilson and an African American is way more likely to happen. Andrew Wilson is way more likely to talk to an African American than Matt Dillahunty to me.
100%.
Yeah.
Right. Like,
okay,
Andrew,
so let's say he's a white
anybody.
supremacist racist, but he's willing to have conversations with people of all skin color. I ask you, what's the problem here?
For me, the problem with Matt Dillahunty not having I wonder if Nathan, you guys touched on this a little bit with Peter Boghossian. Like, Matt Dillahunty's gotten to such a level like here that when he has something that may risk blowback on him, why do you think he didn't have that conversation? Why do you think he's unwilling to have the trans conversation?
Because he's an emotional wreck when it comes to that issue. Because he's having coitus with Arden.
Yeah, but that was my whole point, to not sit down, at least for me, right? Like, I'd sit down with Andrew Wilson any day of the week. Let's just take Andrew out of it and just say,
hey, and Justin, I'll let you in soon.
The guy across the table that's saying, my wife's this, X, Y, and Z, or let's say they're saying, we're going to have a debate. I'm going to sit down and talk to you regardless, because I enjoy the conversation back and forth. And if it gets heated, sometimes it's even more fun. But the minute you call my wife a couple names, I'm going to sit down and we're really going to have that conversation, right? Then it's going to be a different kind of conversation. But I'm more apt to have that conversation, and that's what to me. I think we lost. I think Matt lost. I don't know how to say. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and you say we and atheists, like I don't believe there's any such thing as an atheist community.
No. Oh, I mean, in the sense of, if Andrew Wilson is a transphobe, which I think he is, we lose as people that support the human community as a humanist, right? Like, I think we lose something by not sitting across the table from somebody like Andrew
so you've
Wilson,
called Andrew Wilson a white supremacist, a racist, and now a transphobe.
A transphobe. That's right.
Before you go, what's so bad about being a transphobe?
Again, I think it causes harm to people.
Physical harm?
I think any of these things.
Do you think Andrew Wilson?
Absolutely.
Do you think if Andrew Wilson saw a trans person, he would physically?
Years ago, who's the gay kid they nailed to a farm fence out in Iowa? Or
Do
Nebraska
you believe Andrew Wilson would physically harm a trans person?
No idea.
I will bet money the answer is no to that.
How many times? Did you talk to
Let's
Andrew
try
Wilson?
it. Let's find out where Andrew Wilson lives, and let's hire some trans people to walk by him some night and see what he does. And then we'll have police ready just in case you're right. But I'd bet money Andrew Wilson would never physically harm a
So
trans person.
before you kick me off, do you think we obviously agree on that one thing, that we lose something not sitting across the table and having these discussions.
Right. Yep.
Yeah. And that's when you brought up the Wilson Dillahunty debate. I think Dillahunty was one of the times that I've seen Dillahunty, I think, make a big mistake in not having that conversation.
Okay. Yeah,
because
we can end it
could've
with
exposed-
agreement. See, you're becoming more and more like me every day, trying to build bridges and find the points of agreement. So, Sean, when I look at you, it's almost like I'm looking in the mirror.
See you soon, Doug.
Get out of here. Press the X.
I'm on my phone. Where is it?
Oh, man, these progressives.
Kick me out. Oh, I got it.
So, you're a Satanist.
Yeah.
With a smile on his face. Okay, if there's any Christians in here, I need you to put on the full armor of God now, or click off, because we have a real Satanist in the room, and apparently you're dangerous.
That's what I'm wondering about. I'm not really sure how I'm dangerous, but a lot of people are like so scared.
Yeah. Do you like it when they're scared of you?
No, not exactly.
Because I kind of would. I mean, that's nice having that fear. Like they kind of like they're scared that maybe if they came at you physically, you could cast some type of demonic spell on them, and so maybe they think twice. It's like having a guard dog, except it's Satan.
Yeah. I think the fear makes people more likely to behave poorly around me, so I'm not really like trying to make people scared. I think that I do get something out of the like blasphemy part of that whole thing, and so it's not that I'm trying to make people scared, but I do think that it's important for blasphemy to be acceptable in society. And
if it's one thing atheists should be good at, it's blasphemy.
Exactly. Yeah.
But what did you want to come on and say?
I didn't have a lot to say. I don't understand why people are scared or why people seems. I guess the main thing is that like
Christians will never admit they're scared of Satan. They'll never admit that, by the way. If there's, I bet you anything, if I had 10 Christians come on right now and ask them, are you scared of Satan? All 10 would say no.
Yeah. I don't think they're scared. They definitely would not say they're scared of Satan. I think they are scared of Satanists though.
Yeah.
And I guess the thing that I just am bothered by is that Christians see Satanists as a threat, like politically, because the Satanic Temple, the whole foundational kind of goal of the Satanic Temple is to support the kind of separation of church and state and to reassert our kind of religious pluralism in the United States. And like you were saying, like just a little bit ago, if Christians didn't have religious pluralism, then they are going to end up having sectarian disputes turn into legal disputes. And that I don't think Christians have thought through like what it means to get rid of religious pluralism.
Let me try and see if you agree with this. I'm going to do the impossible here, and there's probably some Christians listening. I'm going to try to give you the Christians' reasons to actually support the Satanic Temple. And you can come up with some too. But one of the reasons, especially the more conservative, right-leaning Christians who might be listening, you ought to support the Satanic Temple and their beliefs, because one of their beliefs is that postmodernism is a bunch of garbage and that there is objective truth out there, and we can use science to figure out what that truth is. So this whole feelings business, your truth is my truth, I get the impression that Satanic Temple people would be more likely to say, no, there is an objective truth out there, and the key is to figure out what it is and use reliable methods. Would you agree with that?
I think most Satanists would agree with science being a way to discover like some sort of objective reality, but I'm not sure about like
the postmodern thing.
If you tried to extend that to like the moral domain, I don't think you would get a lot of Satanists signing on to that. But.
Oh, okay, that's interesting. I actually think, I don't know if maybe they need to poll them, but I actually think a lot of Satanists would believe there's objective moral facts. Like, for example, Sam Harris would say, if you pour battery acid on a person's face, we know scientifically that's not good, and if it doesn't cause flourishing and well-being, we can say that's immoral. So we can use science to actually gauge certain things as immoral or moral.
Yeah, I don't have a good sense of like what the kind of spectrum is in the Satanist community, but I think most are atheists, and a lot of atheists tend to be kind of humanists or at least consequentialists, and so I think they would sign on to like those types of moral facts.
Okay, here's another one.
I don't think I would, but a lot of Satanists would.
Here's another one. Way to build a bridge between Christians and Satanists is, I think a Satanist would say to a street preacher, go ahead and street preach. You have our blessing. Do preach what you want, because the freedoms of others should be respected, including the freedom to offend. So I think a Satanist would say, I support a Christian's right to be on the street and say to avoid people like me, the Satanist. I'm not a Satanist. I'm just saying on behalf of them. Although maybe I should be a Satanist. So they're very much free speech type people. Would you agree?
Yeah. I've actually gotten in trouble online with like certain atheist communities for having that position too. It's weird.
Like of having a free speech position.
Like specifically around proselytization. Like I got into a conversation one time where somebody was explicitly saying that people should not be allowed to like preach at me in public. And I was just simply stating the case that like, well, I think they were saying that it's causing me some kind of harm to be preached at.
Oh,
and there's no justification.
Wusses.
Yeah. And I guess my position is that like, if you truly believe that you might have a chance of saving me from hell, then you should be preaching to me.
Justin, you just triggered me.
You should be doing everything.
You just triggered me.
You should be doing everything you can to like save me, right? Like,
I'm serious. You triggered me hard there. Not you, but the story that you told, because it makes me so angry, and I gotta work hard to be more dead inside. So I'm gonna try it right now. But I get upset when I hear weak-kneed, fragile atheists say, it should not be allowed for street preachers to say certain things to me when you're free to walk away or whatever, but I shouldn't even hear even a touch of it because it's going to cause me harm in my psychology. Grow up, you weak-minded, stupid, fragile atheist. If you are so weak that you can't hear certain views that you disagree with, then stay in your house, for goodness sake. Your parents failed you. Your teachers failed you. You are not an adult. You don't have the mental capacity to be in the real world. You are weak. It's time for you to grow up. And I can help you with that. Maybe Justin will too. There. I failed at being more dead inside on that, but I mean, these atheists really need to grow up.
Yeah, it was a sort of really disturbing experience that encounter on Twitter, because I ended up getting like blown up by their following. They were like harassing me online after that. After I stated my opinion that like people should be free to preach their truth, right? So I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and just give their opinion. Doesn't even have to be about God or anything. Like if someone believes transgender people should not be allowed to teach in public schools, let them say that. Like,
yeah, I want people to say what
and
they
then
think.
give us the reasons why, and then let's debate this. I mean,
Right.
But I bet you there's some atheists that no, that opinion shouldn't even be uttered on certain public spaces.
Yeah, and like I don't speak for all Satanists, but that is one thing about Satanism that really appeals to me, is that kind of they have turned that into like a core value in a way that is actually meaningful. There's symbolism for it. There's that speaking truth to power and saying what you believe and being free to think on your own. Those things are like the core of what the Satanic Temple represents for me. And so it's interesting that Christians are so blinded by the symbolism that they can't see that we are allies in a lot of ways against a lot of other atheists.
Yeah. It
Like,
sounds
a
like
lot.
the Satanists are very much like me. Is that you've been watching my channel for years, right?
Yeah. I think you are the most Satanist person that I know who doesn't call himself a Satanist.
Oh, now all the Christians are for sure going to run away. A Satanist saying to a non-Satanist, "You're the most Satanist person I know." I'll take that with a badge of honor, I guess.
Yeah, it's a compliment.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I kind of like.
But
what's the guy's name with the one eye that's blue or whatever, and he goes on CNN all the time, and he represents the Satan. What's his name?
Lucian Greaves.
Lucian Greaves. Yeah, I've actually talked to him, and he looks like a demon. I mean, because of his one eye, he plays the part perfectly. But
they picked a good spokesperson for sure.
And he's so intelligent, so articulate. It's like I've never met a Satanist that was stupid yet. Really, I mean, like if you want to be viewed as smart and intelligent, become a Satanist.
And if you want to hang out on Wednesday nights and watch some bad movies, then you should go to his movie night. Because
when you say bad movies, you mean like Star Wars 1, or what do you mean?
Lucian hosts a like movie night every Wednesday night, and it's just.
But what type of movies does he watch?
They're the worst movies he can find. They're like.
See, but Christians are thinking movies about kids having their heads chopped off, but it's probably like not like that, right?
I mean, they're not like praising, crimes or something like that. No.
Okay.
They're horror movies and weird, fucked up culture,
like the Blob.
And
remember that movie from the 80s, The Blob? This big green blob takes over the city.
I've never seen it.
Oh yeah, it was so bad. I think it's become a classic.
Yeah, I've definitely heard of it.
Yeah.
I wanted to originally call in because I was like wishing that I could talk to Pablo, because he like legitimately sounded scared.
Well, hang on. I'm here to build bridges. If Pablo the Christian, he's a bad Christian, but if Pablo wants to come on and talk to a Satanist, I will build that bridge. Pablo, are you still here? Nobody tells Pinecreek about Star Wars 8. I've seen Star Wars 8. I didn't like it. I didn't like anything after the original 6. My favorite was Episode 3, when Anakin turns into Darth Vader.
Yeah, I couldn't really handle the J.J. Abrams versions.
I think Pablo's gone.
Yeah. All right. Fair enough. Well, I Yeah, I hope that Christians can like look a little bit past the surface layer of what Satanic Temple is doing and, you know, try to understand what the message is, because it's actually like a shooting themselves in the foot if they don't. So
Yeah, I think they will always have, as long as you keep the word Satan in your name, they're always going to have a negative impression of you.
yeah. Well,
anyhow, thanks for
appreciate
calling
you
in,
having me on.
Justin. Yep. Take care. Have a
Yep.
good weekend.
Have a good one.
I usually average, I think 15% theists in here. We'll see how many are in here today. Oh yeah, talking about Satanism. It drops. You can't answer the poll because you're neither. No, this is, I mean, when it comes to dichotomies, I think the theist-atheist dichotomy is as pure of a dichotomy as you get. Like, even if you're a pantheist, I think that would be the one exception of where you would... Are you a pantheist triarch? I might give you that one as a third option, if you're a naturalistic pantheist. But then again, if you're a naturalistic, I would say you're an atheist. So, if you're a deist, you're a theist. Deism is a subset of theism. If you believe in any supernatural, you're a theist. Supernatural meaning God with a small g. Okay, what are you triarch if you're not a pantheist? What is the third category that excludes you from theist or atheist? I'm a deist with naturalistic leanings. Yeah, you're a theist triarch. Google it. Deist is a subset of theism. It's a type of theism where you of an impersonal God. See, is this amazing? You can learn things here. But I'm not religious. Oh, religion has nothing to do with it. You either believe that a God of some sort exists or you don't. There are some people who claim to be exactly 50%, could go either way, and they call themselves agnostics. I think they're like unicorns. They really don't exist. I think people who claim they're agnostic are just, they just don't have a backbone. Choose this day who you will serve. Mr. Monster.
Hello.
Hi.
I've been watching your conversation. Well, I've been watching your channel for a while. Figured I'd come on and chat for a bit since you just had another Satanist on.
Oh, you're a Satanist as well.
How are you today?
I'm doing well.
Yeah, well, yeah. I consider Satanists to be atheists with flavor.
With flavor?
Yeah, because I've never been, but when you go to those big satanic things and you got like, what is it, R and Ra and stuff like that, and they all have their big things, they're all atheists. If you ask them, they don't believe in Satan. They only believe in atheism, but they kind of cosplay, pentagrams, Satan symbols, Baphomets, blah blah blah. So it's atheism with flavor. But
but is there an actual community that you are involved in with the Satan Temple?
I mean, I have my card from TST, so I have like a card that says official member, but I've never got a chance to be in any organizations or anything. I just, for the most part, I take care of my grandma and I work at the grocery store, so I don't really get a chance to do very much organizing stuff. But as far as my beliefs go, that's I look at the tenets and I do see room for improvement, but I agree with most of the tenets.
Yeah, I think most Christians agree with it too.
Yeah, well, it's strange. Some of the basic, I mean, at least 2 or 3 of the rules that are in the 10 Commandments are, in TST. you can't harm somebody, stuff like, as far as physically. There is things about, and I guess this is what we could talk about is, you guys were talking about, is it okay to be racist? Is it okay to be transphobe? I guess, you going up to the counter at AutoZone and thinking, oh, good for them for this. I thought that was kind of funny. But I think that's funny. I don't think that's like hateful or harmful racism. I think that's like a funny racism. Like when Richard Pryor makes a joke about black people, on stage, that's racism, but it's a funny kind of wholesome racism. I'm white saying that, it'd be easier for people to absorb if I was black saying that.
One can make the argument that racism saves lives.
In some aspects, I imagine.
Imagine if all the Native Americans were very racist against the Europeans, and whenever they saw a European, they just ran away. They would have had
prejudice.
They would have had less disease.
Yes. No, you're right. If you isolate yourself away from, like, if an aliens came down, are we just gonna be inclusive towards them and just bring them into our community?
No, we're
and say,
not.
oh yeah, cool aliens.
We're gonna.
We're gonna be cautious. We're gonna see what's happening. So I understand that aspect. Yeah.
So we're all racist.
That is racist.
Yeah, we're all racist
in some aspect, but there's being hateful, and then there's being, I guess logical. I suppose. I'd say it like. Because I'm not a very mean person. I'm not a very hateful person. I actually don't really ever seek revenge, and that's actually one of the tenets. Is like, if somebody hurts you, smite them back. And I'm like, oh well, not that kind of person. Everybody deals with situations on their own individually. That's why it's like, sure, I guess if transphobe is somebody who doesn't think that a biological male with a penis can ever consider themselves a woman, I guess. If that's your belief, I suppose that would make you a transphobe, but I don't see that as a bad thing. It's just your opinion. And unless you're actually going around and going up to trans people and being hateful towards them, like, your transphobia wouldn't be a bad thing, I don't think. This is your opinion,
Well, it's more than just opinion, but I guess it's an opinion about definitions, because if you define a woman as adult female human, then that's just fact. That's just science, that someone born male will never, ever, ever, ever be a woman, if that's how you define woman.
So the way I see it is like, if it looks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's a duck. So I'm not gonna. A good example is trans duck. Yes. A good example is that movie Dudes, Where's My Car? Even though it's kind of a transphobic comedic scene, is where Ashton Kutcher's like, he sees that stripper and it's like from the night before, blah, blah, blah. He doesn't remember. But after she kisses him, she shows him that she actually has a dick. And he's just like wiping his tongue. He's like, ugh! But if I would have seen that person, I would have never assumed that. I would have just been, oh, she's a woman. And I'm never going to go inspect if they have a penis or not. I guess I suppose the only time I'd be upset about it is if they were trying to, I guess, conservatives' worst fears is like trans teachers trying to make their children turn trans. I guess in that scenario, yeah, I'd be like, no, you can't teach children, but I don't think that's really happening in massive waves or anything like that. That's when transphobia is like, okay, because now somebody is being harmful and harming people physically, and there are forms of mental harm that I think that are definitely counting as harmful.
Yeah, well, but, the thing is, almost anything can be viewed harmful if someone's offended by it. If you consider offense from sound waves hitting your ears as harmful, then almost anything can be harmful. I can say this pen is blue, and someone might be harmed by that and say, no, I'm colorblind, and so I see gray. Like, you offended me. Mm-hmm. Well, so okay, I offended you, I harmed you. Now deal with it. That's your fault.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's also one of the kind of tenets is like, I suppose I wouldn't consider myself right-leaning. I'm more of a progressive Satanist as far as, like, I consider myself a trans ally in some senses, I don't, do anything I don't know. I'm not out there at a gay pride festival, supporting the community, but I'm kind of nice to trans people, and I don't care to argue with them or.
I'm very nice to
they
trans
want to believe what they
people
believe.
as well. Like did you see me talk to Riley the other day?
Oh, I might have missed that.
Yeah, I've talked to many trans
that,
people, and I would say that every single trans person I've talked to, if you put them in a lie detector and say, "Did you enjoy your conversation with Doug?" I would say most of them would say yes. I mean, I would say all of them would say yes, because I've asked them often.
Actually,
yeah.
The cool thing about you is that no matter what opinion is coming towards you, it could be like some crazy opinion, it could be the correct opinion. I think your responses are very logical, and so that's why I like watching your channel. Even if I may not always agree with your stance, the way you respond to certain stances, or any stance, actually, I should say, the way you respond is what would get me to like watch your channel. There's a lot of other atheists or other people who converse with religious people, trans people, or other political topics that, not saying like what they say goes and nothing else goes, but it's kind of how it leans, and you kind of allow people to have their conversations, have their points, get their points. So I think at the end of a conversation, no matter if they completely disagree with you, I see a lot of them having positive experiences.
Well,
that's what I watching your channel.
I interpret everything you just said in the last minute as a compliment, so I'm going to leave it there.
Yeah.
So thank you for hopping on.
I'll say this before I go.
Okay.
Religious people shouldn't be afraid of Satanists, because at the end of the day, we're all trying to make this place here that we're living in presently a better place to live in. That's for the most part. I think a majority.
Yeah. Well, go eat your baby, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah.
I just wanted to see, someone mentioned Mike Winger is on, but it's questions for atheists and skeptics. So that's a little different than usual.
Offering. What's the foundation of that? Abraham offering Isaac and having this ram show up as the alternative to sacrificing his son. God is changing the way they do religion because the idea here is to take your questions as a skeptic, non-believer, doubter, treat it with respect, treat you with dignity, and give you the best answer that I can.
He has a black ring. Is it true that black rings are supposed to represent open marriages?
At least I can't promise to have all the answers. I never can, and that's understandable if anybody promises to have all the answers.
I'm not saying Mike Winger has an open marriage. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, is that true though?
I point you to the goodness of the truth of Christianity that I believe is not only good in the sense that it pragmatically helps people in life. I want to encourage you.
Okay.
This is the Q&A. I used to have ready to go, and that comes from Lily Wang, who says, in Genesis 22:2, God tested Abraham by asking him to sacrifice Isaac as a burnt offering. How can God ask men to do something that is sinful, and how could Abraham obey God's direction to sin?
What a stupid question by an atheist. If that person is an atheist or a skeptic. I mean, whatever God commands cannot be a sin, because sin is defined as that which goes against the nature of God. So anything God does, commands, cannot be a sin. So you stupid atheist who asked this stupid question, how this is asking the sacrifice is a sin. It can't be.
So I think this is again, I want to treat these questions with respect, right? I'm going to offer a simple answer.
I won't treat that question with respect.
But then I want to give you an explanation of that answer so we can come back to the simplicity of it. And you'll see. Hopefully it'll make sense. I would say that my response to this question is to say it wasn't actually sinful for Abraham to obey God or for God to command Abraham. That it wasn't.
Yeah, that's what my answer. Me and Mike have the same answers because we understand Christianity.
And this has strong implications about a few things, about morality and also about God's, you might say God's rights. It's probably a clumsy way to put it, but I don't know what other term to use here. But
yeah, now he's going into, how do we recognize what's right, what's wrong, what's good, what's bad if God commands it? That's the real question. Is we got to know the mind of God on some things.
Right. A proper.
Do you have an open marriage? No, blessed be. I do not have an open marriage.
Role that he has to do what he wants with his creation, including with
How do we get to question
killing or making alive. That is, God can simply do that because of his role as creator of all things. There's another aspect of which is God's morality. God is the grounding of all morality.
Blah, blah,
and
blah.
And this is my.
Here we go.
So you can't run a red light. That same authority, governmental authority.
What?
That same authority is being extended by the cop in a special circumstance.
He doesn't
to
have
say,
a
okay,
way
in
to...
this case, do it. There are specific reasons why this situation's different. God commands Abraham to offer Isaac.
He's still on the Isaac thing?
Specific reasons why this situation's radically different. One of the rungs of the ladder, and the other rung of the ladder to climb up to this conclusion. So God has authority over sacrifice your kids to me. Let me explain why people have misunderstood this passage, I think. Not everybody, but many people have. So, first off, if you're feeling tempted to do something like this, or feeling that maybe God's showing you to do something like this,
he's still on
you're not Abraham. Okay, that was a one-time thing, never happened again in the Bible.
Whoa, one-time thing? Never happened again in the Bible. But how do you know it's a one-time thing? Are you saying God cannot do that again? That God, in his nature, it's always a one-off? See, if Mike Winger was here, there's no way he could make that claim. That God would never, ever, ever ask a person ever again to sacrifice their child. You're taking away the sovereignty of God if you as a Christian say this. Doug doesn't seem the marrying type. What? I'm being offended here. I'm a great father. I'm a great husband. Women love me.
Then yeah, don't do it. Now, Abraham didn't have that.
Sorry, Mike. Someone asked you a question and you spent like 20 minutes on it now. I honestly think there's a theory that if you can keep your questions and answers short, you're more likely to be an atheist, a skeptic, or a conservative. One of those. Okay. Focus on the chat. Did I miss any donations like I did the other day? I'm here and subscribed because I like how he smoked Darth Dawkins. I know how to handle precepts. You fall at their feet and you become their slave, and then you ask very gentle questions. Does the Church of Satan still exist, or is everyone part of the TST now? I don't know. What's the over-under that Mike's response actually answered the question? No, he answered the question. The question was flawed. How can God command this sinful thing? Well, he didn't. That's the answer to the question. It wasn't anything God commands is not a sin, by definition. God could command rape. That's not bad. That's not a sin. But God would never do that. But if he did, it wouldn't be a sin. There must be some greater good behind it. I just don't know why he takes so long to answer it. I would have answered it in 10 seconds and moved on to the next question. If AI one day declares there's proof for God, and when asked for this proof, it turns out too complicated for us humans to understand, would you then believe in God? No. Why does complications... I have my markers. My markers is a demonstration. This is what frustrates Christians, Muslims. It frustrates them. Because I ask for something that they are quite convinced will never happen. Raise the dead in Jesus' name. Raise the dead in Allah's name. Raise the dead in Vishnu's name. And if it happens, and do it, and say you're going to do it ahead of time. On this date, this is what we're going to do. It's simple. And don't give me, thou shalt not test the Lord your God. Don't give me that. If you pray for miracles, if you pray for healings, if you pray for anything, you're testing the Lord your God already. Thanks, what? Seems like I do nothing but politics now because no theists, very few theists want to call in. I agree, Rami. The only thing I've been impressed with AI so far that's practical for me is its voice cloning. That's pretty cool. Oh, this is blasphemy in the progressive circles. Poof. My apologies to Andrew Wilson. He was scheduled to come on and defend himself as not to being a white supremacist, racist, transphobe. But we ran out of time.